What happens when Kobe Bryant, dressed simply in a gray t-shirt, cap, and faded jeans, walks into a luxury aircraft dealership hoping to quietly explore the finest models? He's underestimated and ridiculed by a blonde, arrogant attendant who believes Kobe can't possibly afford anything in the store. But things take an unexpected turn when his true identity is revealed, leading the attendant to beg for forgiveness. Trust me, you won't believe how this story ends. Before we continue, let us know where you're watching from, and if you enjoy stories like this, subscribe to the channel because tomorrow we have another special story for you. The air conditioning in the luxury aircraft showroom kept the atmosphere impeccably cool, as if even the temperature had to be exclusive. The glass walls reflected the pristine shine of the displayed aircraft, true airborne palaces. Each plane was not just a means of transportation, but a symbol of absolute status. These were extremely expensive jets, not just the kind that a millionaire could buy. They were so absurdly exclusive that only oil tycoons, billionaire CEOs, and royalty members could even consider making a purchase. Just stepping into this showroom required a bank account with 8 or 9 figures. That's why when he walked in, the effect was instantaneous. Kobe Bryant stepped through the automatic doors with a calm stride, as if he had no awareness of where he was. Wearing a worn-out cap, a plain gray t-shirt, and faded jeans, he looked completely out of place in such an opulent environment. His scuffed sneakers didn't match the immaculate floor, where usually only handcrafted Italian leather shoes dared to tread. The blonde salesman, a tall, slim man in a perfectly tailored suit, froze the moment he spotted the unexpected guest. For a second, he simply didn't know how to react. His eyes scanned Kobe from head to toe, as if trying to decipher what the hell this man was doing here. Instinctively, he glanced at the security guard in the corner of the store. The exchange was quick but meaningful. "Do I need you here?" The security guard, a broad-shouldered man in a black suit, studied the scene for a moment. He seemed ready to step in, but since there was no immediate disturbance, he remained watchful, waiting for a cue. The salesman swallowed dryly and adjusted his tie, as if merely having Kobe in the showroom was somehow tainting the sophistication of the place. He took a deep breath, straightened his posture, and stepped forward, adopting a professional tone, but with an undeniable hint of hostility. "Sir," he said, his voice coated with forced politeness and his smile as cold as ice. Kobe remained neutral, a faint spark of amusement flickering in his gaze. "May I help you?" The salesman pressed subtly, emphasizing help, as if making it clear he did not expect this man to be a real customer. Kobe looked around, taking in the aircraft with genuine admiration. He seemed truly captivated by the planes. Then he turned to the salesman and smiled casually. "I'd like to see some models." The salesman's eyebrows shot up. His expression immediately shifted. A short, sarcastic scoff slipped from his lips. "Models?" he repeated, as if he had just heard something utterly ridiculous. He crossed his arms, tilting his head slightly as he scrutinized Kobe further. The plain t-shirt, the faded jeans, the old cap. The idea that this man was here to buy an extremely expensive aircraft seemed absurd. Leaning slightly forward, his voice dropped a fraction, as if he were doing Kobe a favor by explaining the obvious. "Are you sure you're in the right place, sir?" The question wasn't asked out of curiosity. It was a warning, a polite way of saying, "This place isn't for you." Kobe didn't flinch. He simply took a slow breath, kept his calm smile, and answered as if the question didn't faze him at all. "Yes, I'm in the right place." The salesman's forced smile remained, but his discomfort became even more apparent. He exhaled sharply, glancing around as if expecting someone to step in and put an end to this awkward situation. "Well, we sell extremely expensive jets here, Mr. Kobe." The salesman dragged out the words, "extremely expensive," ensuring the message was crystal clear. This was his final warning, his last chance to let Kobe know he didn't belong in the showroom and to escort him out without embarrassment. But instead, Kobe simply nodded thoughtfully. "And that's exactly what I'd like to see," he replied. The salesman blinked twice. "I'm sorry, what I want to see is the most exclusive aircraft you have here." The salesman froze for a moment. It seemed like his brain was lagging, struggling to process what had just been said. He looked over at one of his colleagues behind the counter, who simply shrugged, equally perplexed. Then he turned back to Kobe, waiting for him to laugh and reveal it was all a joke. But Kobe didn't laugh. He just stood there waiting. The salesman's lips pressed into a thin line. His irritation was now evident. He wanted to kick this man out. He wanted to tell him he wasn't about to waste time showing jets worth hundreds of millions of dollars to someone who clearly wasn't a serious buyer. But what if he was wrong? What if this scruffy-looking guy was some eccentric millionaire? A low-key tech mogul who didn't like to flaunt his wealth? The salesman inhaled deeply, exhaled in an exaggerated theatrical sigh, and gestured dismissively. Fine, if that's what you want. He turned on his heel abruptly, striding toward the VIP section of the showroom, hoping that Kobe would have the common sense to back out and leave. But Kobe followed him calmly, as if he had every right to be there. As they disappeared down the hallway leading to the private viewing area, the other employees exchanged perplexed glances. Nobody could figure out what the hell was going on. As Kobe admired the luxurious aircraft, the arrogant blonde salesman watched him with disdain. Do you think the salesman's prejudice will ruin Kobe's visit, or is there more to this story than meets the eye? The showroom was silent except for the sharp, hurried sound of the salesman's leather shoes against the pristine marble floor. He walked fast. He wanted to end this nonsense as quickly as possible. Kobe followed him without rushing, as if he was completely oblivious to the impatience and disdain being thrown at him. And that drove the salesman insane. When they reached the VIP area, where the most sophisticated and unattainable jets were displayed like relics for billionaires, the salesman abruptly stopped and gestured toward the first jet with a sharp, careless motion. Here, Falcon LX 900. He didn't even look at Kobe as he spoke. It's efficient, comfortable. Italian leather seats can handle transatlantic flights with ease. His voice was dry and impatient. He wasn't presenting the jet. He was testing whether Kobe was going to back out now. But Kobe didn't back out. He simply observed the aircraft calmly, hands in his pockets. Looks great, but this isn't the most exclusive one, is it? He asked. The salesman closed his eyes for a second as if trying to contain his frustration. He spun on his heels aggressively, his jaw clenched in irritation, and pointed to another jet without enthusiasm. All right, Gulfstream G7500, $70 million this time. He deliberately emphasized every syllable. Now he wanted to see Kobe's expression change. He wanted this pathetic idiot to feel the shame, to squirm, to finally understand once and for all that he was in the wrong place. But Kobe didn't even blink. He just nodded, completely unfazed. Impressive, but still. This isn't the most exclusive one, is it? The salesman froze in place, his face twisted into pure contempt. He let out a short, bitter laugh, void of any amusement. You're kidding me right now? He sneered, not even trying to hide his anger. He pointed a finger at Kobe, his eyes filled with venom. Listen here, sir. This is not a joke. He leaned in closer, as if trying to crush Kobe with his presence. You can't just walk in here and waste my time now. He spoke slowly, as if explaining something obvious to an idiot. This isn't a mall. It's not a museum. He waved his hand around the store with pure condescension. We don't sell souvenirs. We don't cater to tourists. His mocking tone grew sharper. This isn't a theme park where you can pretend you belong. Kobe remained calm, simply watching him, but the salesman wasn't finished. Now he wanted to hurt. We're talking about real money here, the salesman said, his eyes cold and ruthless. This is for real people. People with power, people who are part of something bigger. He looked Kobe up and down, his disgust so clear it almost turned into hatred. And you don't look like anything other than a broke nobody. The word broke was spat out with such force that it was almost physically painful. For a moment, silence reigned. The showroom felt frozen in time. The salesman waited, completely sure that he had finally broken this idiot. But Kobe didn't react. No raised eyebrows, no deep sigh, nothing. He just maintained the same calm gaze as before, and then smiled. A small, subtle smile that was enough to send a strange chill down the salesman's spine. Kobe stepped forward. Now he was the one looking down at the salesman. The salesman felt a tightness in his chest. Something wasn't right. Kobe tilted his head slightly and, in a calm and steady tone, said, "Just one thing. May I see the most exclusive aircraft now?" The salesman went pale. His lips parted instinctively, but no words came out. For the first time in this conversation, he didn't know what to say. His brain refused to process the idea that this man was still standing there, still looking at him, still asking to see the most expensive jet. He should be humiliated. He should have turned around and left. But Kobe didn't back out. He just stood there and smiled, the smile of a man who knows something others don't. The salesman lowered his head, unable to respond. "You assumed I was a nobody, a broke guy, a dreamer who walked in here just to fantasize about a life he could never have." He paused briefly, letting his words sink into the salesman's mind. "But what if I was the salesman?" the man snapped, suddenly raising his head. Startled, Kobe tilted his head slightly, studying him. "What if I was just a guy with no money, a dreamer with no means to buy anything here? Would that mean I didn't deserve respect?" The salesman held his breath. The showroom became even quieter. Kobe smiled lightly, but his words carried weight. Because in the end, it's not about money. It never was. He glanced around as if speaking not just to the salesman, but to everyone in the room. It doesn't matter if someone walks in here wearing a $20,000 suit or a $20 t-shirt. Everyone deserves respect. The manager nodded slowly, clearly impressed. The salesman, however, looked smaller than ever. The weight of his own actions was crushing him. Kobe let out a quiet breath and placed a hand on the salesman's shoulder. "You're young. You still have time to learn." The salesman felt a lump form in his throat. "The question is, do you want to?" The question hung in the air, and the salesman couldn't bring himself to answer right away. Kobe didn't need to say anything else. He took a step back and turned to the manager. "Now then, I think we can continue the tour," he said as he walked forward. No grudges, no anger, just the quiet confidence of someone who knew he had delivered the most valuable lesson possible. The manager nodded respectfully and followed Kobe. The salesman remained behind, standing in place, feeling his world spin. He looked at his own hands as if he were holding the weight of his mistake, and for the first time, he felt ashamed of himself. Kobe Bryant turned the salesman's humiliation into a powerful lesson on respect and humanity. But now the real question remains. Did the salesman actually learn anything from this? The luxury jet showroom quickly returned to normal, but the atmosphere had completely changed. The employees who had barely noticed Kobe earlier were now whispering among themselves, exchanging discreet glances. The salesman, still pale and speechless, couldn't move. While the scene inside the store was settling down, something much bigger was starting to happen outside. A woman who had been observing the situation from a distance recorded the entire scene on her phone. She captured every second of the interaction. The repercussions of the Kobe Bryant video at the jet store didn't fade over time. If anything, the situation only grew bigger. The media wouldn't stop covering the story, and the flood of social media comments never let up. The store's name, once associated with luxury and exclusivity, became synonymous with arrogance and prejudice. The company's board of directors held an emergency meeting to figure out how to salvage their reputation. And as a result, drastic changes were announced a few days after the scandal. The store overhauled its customer service approach, and the most significant change involved the salesman. After being publicly torn apart on the internet, the salesman tried his best to stay out of the spotlight. But inside the store, his situation couldn't be ignored. He was called into a decisive meeting. The manager stared at him seriously. "You understand why we're here, don't you?" The salesman nodded slowly, eyes downcast. "I do." The manager crossed his arms. "You made a serious mistake. You didn't just disrespect a customer. You damaged the entire store's reputation." The salesman felt the weight of guilt pressed down on him. "I know, and I regret it." The manager stayed silent for a moment, then asked, "Tell me, what did you learn?" The salesman hesitated before looking up. "That we should never judge a customer by their appearance." The manager raised an eyebrow. "That's it?" The salesman swallowed hard. "That respect should always come first." The manager nodded. "And are you willing to change?" The salesman took a deep breath. "Yes, I am." The manager was quiet for a long moment before finally speaking. "The store has decided not to fire you, but that doesn't mean things will stay the same. The salesman's eyes widened in surprise. I still have a job? The manager gave a small, knowing smirk. Yes, but not in your current position. The decision is simple. You will be demoted to customer service assistant, handling every single person who walks through the store's doors, regardless of their appearance or status. If you want to stay, you're going to have to learn the hard way. The salesman didn't protest. He knew he deserved it. And for the first time since the incident, he felt that this was a chance to start over. While the store tried to rebuild itself, everyone was waiting for Kobe Bryant to comment on the situation. But as always, he remained his usual discreet and elegant self. When asked by reporters about what had happened, he simply smiled and answered in his usual calm manner, "This has already been resolved in the best way possible. No resentment, no revenge. Just Kobe being Kobe." Deep down, he knew that this story had made a difference. He didn't want to see anyone canceled. He wanted people to learn. And this time, someone did, with the store committed to change and the salesman learning the hard way. Kobe Bryant's story didn't just become a viral lesson, it became a real example of transformation. In the end, it was never just about money or status. It was about respect. And that is the true wealth everyone should strive for. If you enjoyed this story, we have many more that will warm your heart. Click the screen to explore more stories of hope, compassion, and resilience.